Om Sri Sai Ram. Adi Narayana Sai Narayana Adi Narayana Sai Narayana Jaya Hari Narayana Jaya 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 Sai Narayana Jaya Jaya Adi Narayana Sai Narayana Pandhari Vasa Hari Narayana Pandhari Vasa Hari Narayana Parti Nivasa Sai Narayana Parti Nivasa Sai Narayana Varadha Narayana Vedo Narayana Varadha Narayana Vedo Narayana Jaya Sai Narayana Jaya 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 Sai Narayana Jaya Jaya Adi Narayana Sai Narayana. Om Sri Sai Ram. In my yesterday's talk, I just mentioned that Swami has been appearing in my visions practically every day during Brahma Muhurtam to guide me, to instruct me, to direct me, to bring about what he calls governance of God in this country, Bharat. Since my 50th birthday, 28th of January 2003, when he actually woke me up from my sleep to tell me that I had to do this mission. Though I protested, I suggested many alternatives, but this God doesn't like to be suggested, he says. So, and we can't, once he has decided, nobody can escape. Willingly, unwillingly, joyfully, one has to follow his command. We have to cultivate choicelessness. That is true surrender. To cultivate choicelessness. Many devotees feel, of course, most of the non-devotees would support this, that if I had to cultivate choicelessness, then why God has to give me the power of discrimination? Good. It's a good argument. Our mind always justifies the unjustifiable and always tries to defend the indefensible. If every human being, we all are assigned this role of playing human, that much we have to accept as a bottom line of our this spiritual talk, that we all are essentially and equally divine, and we have been given this human body, human mind, human intelligence, human power of discrimination, human emotions, to play our assigned role. We have never been able to, no one can decide one's birth one's parents, one's place of birth, time of birth. The person who is being born cannot. The baby in the womb of mother cannot decide what time it is going to be born and where it is going to be born and whose womb it is going to be born. So everything is scripted, decided and directed by a cosmic intelligence. Universal cosmic intelligence. We are not even this bit of the spark, and we claim to know everything, to decide everything. Manchini, Swami says, okay. But if we apply our common sense, if every performer decides his or her own role play, what will happen to the play? It is as simple as that. He alone knows. We know nothing. Yes, we are not his puppets. God doesn't want puppets. He has created his performers in his own image. It is he again who decides to perform. I separated myself from myself. Krishna reveals in Bhagavad Gita to Arjuna that the potter at least has to make the pots taking clay out of the earth. But me, I don't even have that option, because that clay is not separate from me. I am the clay. I am the potter. I am the pot. Again, it is very simple to understand actually. We every day see our dreams, because our talk yesterday was on my divine dream. Swami's dreams are special. Swami will appear in our dream when he decides to appear, because he is the master of all the stages, our subconscious, conscious, superconscious, even unconscious minds. But in our normal dreams, when we see our dreams, we may see a lion chasing us, and we may see we killing the lion. We can see anything and everything. The dream may go on for hours together. We may see innumerable people performing in that dream, somebody trying to kill us, somebody trying to save us. Anything and everything we can see. We have seen many times such dreams. Every one of us. Who has not seen dreams? Now all the characters, even the background scenes, even the nature, even suppose we see the trees, the fire, the water, the five elements in any form. When the dream is created by our mind, we can't say that somebody else is creating dream in us. It is our mind that is creating our dreams in our sleep, in our dream state sleep. Naturally, everything that we see in our dreams is made up of our mind. Our mind creates the fire. Fire is our mind. The water, the villain, the hero, the heroine, all the characters, supporting actors, even the nature, even the background, in the music, whatever. It is creation of our mind stuff, isn't it? There is no outside agency in our sleep. Nobody can encroach upon our privacy in our sleep. In the greatest Pegasus cannot. Because that is the game of our mind. When our human mind can create such fantastic fantasies, just imagine what God cannot do, the God mind. The only difference between our dreams and God dream is our dreams have actually no logic. In our dream, we can, even the weakest person can kill the lion. But in God's dream, the lion will kill the man. There's logic in his dreams. But it is a dream, his dream. So it is being played in his mind. And he can delude anybody. Nobody should have that arrogance that we cannot be deluded. Once Narada had that delusion. Swami told this Chinnakatha that once Lord Vishnu and Narada were Narada told Lord Vishnu, I want to go on and see the people living on the earth planet. Why do they get deluded? I just can't understand. When Narayana is everywhere, Sarvatra Narayana, how do they get deluded? I want to see their foolishness. Narayana said, okay, let's go, I'll accompany you. So they went, they came down, and they came down on a hill station, beautiful station, and there Narayana just pretended that he is feeling thirsty. So there was a beautiful river flowing across the mountains. So Narayana told Narada, I'm feeling very thirsty. Could you please bring some water for me? Narayana said, yes. Being obedient and devoted, he came down and he searched. Now he had no vessel to carry the water. So he was looking around for some vessel and he saw one beautiful damsel, beautiful girl, Rishi Muni's daughter or somebody, fetching water. So he went there to her hut. She was watering the plants. So he requested that, could I borrow your vessel please for a moment? I have to bring water for my Guru, my God. So she turned her face. When Narada saw her beauty, he got lost. He had never seen such beauty even in heavens. She was so enchanting. He immediately forgot everything and he started trying to go near her. And she also came forward and started speaking very sweetly to Narada. Narada got mesmerized. He said, where are you from? Who are you? She said, I am living here alone. I lost my parents, so I am just alone without anybody's support. So Narada got an idea. He said, if you want, I can be with you to help you. She said, that will be the greatest blessings for me if you can live with me. So Narada immediately agreed because that is what he wanted. He was so intoxicated by the beauty, the charm of this lady, young girl. So he started living with her. And in few years' time, he had 4 children. And he used to do his household work, helping this lady. He used to go and fetch water. He will go to jungle to cut woods. And he was busy looking after his family. So one day he climbed down the hilltop from his house, the cottage, to bring water from the flowing river. So as soon as he was about to fill up the water, he saw the big mountain sheets just giving way, losing the balance, and they coming down, and there was a big storm and everything was engulfed by the mountains, by the big sheets of mountains, rocks, everything in the entire village. He could see with his own eyes that his hut with his wife and children being destroyed. Entire village. In one moment, there was a landslide. There was lightning, there was thunder from nowhere. He saw with his own eyes. He was at the bottom of the hill, at the river bank. He started crying, holding that vessel full of water, crying, shedding tears for his family. That very moment Narayana appeared and he tapped him from the behind. Hey Narada, where is my water? I'm feeling so thirsty. Then Narada realized. He said, Bhagwan, now I realize your Maya, you are capable of deluding anybody. Who are we? Even Ravana thought that he is going to play a game with Rama by sending Maricha. He didn't know that Rama has already decided to play the game to counter his game. So a true sadhaka, a true devotee, always aspires to cultivate choicelessness. When Rama once told Lakshmana in the forest on the very first day, Lakshmana, now Sita seems to be very tired. You go and select some spot where we can just erect some cottage and she can take some rest inside that. Lakshmana refused. He cried. He said, brother, no, that is not my job. I can do anything for you. But I am not going to select the spot. I am not the architect of my life. That he meant. You have to select the spot. You have to tell me the design, what I have to do. I will do the rest. I will follow your command. But I am not going to have choice which site, which design, how. That you are the architect of our lives. That is surrender. Cultivate choicelessness. And then what about discrimination? Swami says cultivate fundamental discrimination. Again Lakshmana. Once Swami told this story. Brahma sent the Lord of Death to remind Sri Rama that his play of avatar is now coming to an end and he has to prepare for the return to Vaikuntha. So the message was sent to Rama that one sage has come. He looks very unique and very effulgent and he wants to have audience with you. So Sri Rama called him inside his chambers and this sage told Rama that I have come to communicate to you certain things from Lord Brahma, but while I am communicating with you, no one should enter your private chambers because I will be giving you some secrets. Nobody should come inside and disturb or listen to any word of it. Rama said, very simple. So he summoned Lakshmana, whom he trusted the most. He said, Lakshmana, now listen very carefully. While I am sitting and talking with this Rishi Muni, the sage, no one should be allowed to enter my chambers at any cost. If anyone does that, he will be punished. He will be hanged till death. Lakshmana heard these hard words for the first time from Rama, that anyone disobeying his orders will be put to death. Lakshmana said, yes, I will be there. So Lakshmana was standing as a watchman outside the chambers and the sage was talking with Sri Rama, giving messages to him from Lord Brahma. Meanwhile, sage Durvasa, we all know Durvasa is embodiment of anger. And once he gets angry, he will not cool down unless he cursed the person who has annoyed him. Durvasa appears and he wants to meet Rama without any delay. And he tells Lakshmana, I want to meet Sri Rama just now. And I want to go and talk to him. It is very urgent. Now Lakshmana was in dilemma. He knew if he doesn't allow Durvasa, he is going to curse him. And Durvasa threatened because Lakshmana was trying to convince him that he could wait for another 5 to 10 minutes, please. Durvasa, he got angry. He said, how dare you? I'm telling you, if you don't allow me right now, I'm going to destroy not only you, but the entire Ayodhya. Be careful. Now, Lakshmana thought in his mind the fundamental discrimination, what Swami calls. He thought, if I don't allow this person, he is going to destroy entire Ayodhya. If I allow him, Rama is going to hang me. And not only that, I'll be hanged, but I will get the bad name of disobeying Rama for the first time in my life. And that tag of disobeying the command of Rama will remain forever. So he applied his fundamental discrimination to come to the decision that it is better to die even with the tag of disobeying the command of Lord Rama than to let the entire Ayodhya and the citizens get destroyed by the curse of this sage Durvasa. So he allowed Durvasa to go inside. That is called sacrificing self-interest in the interest of all. That is surrender. That is performer. That is performance to please God. And this one act of Lakshmana put Rama in a fix. How could he give sentence of death to his beloved Lakshmana? Then Vasishtha came to his rescue. He said, Rama, you just exile him from your kingdom. It is as good as giving death to him. So Lakshmana was exiled. But the tag remains still today that Lakshmana did not follow the command of his brother Rama. But that tag glorifies his devotion, his surrender to the highest level. Because he did not follow the command, not that he did not want to follow the command, because he knew that Rama will be pleased with this disobeying his command. That is fundamental discrimination. Now coming to the point, since yesterday many my close friends are asking, we are hearing from you this governance of God. When is it coming? And Swami appearing to you and giving you directions, enlightening you how to bring about this governance for last 18 years. Could you please release that dialogue? What are you waiting for? Let me give one simple answer to this. We all know as devotees, when Swami selects some student to speak for any occasion, Swami selects the boy. Swami is informed, or sometimes Swami himself selects the topic. The boy prepares the topic, keeping in mind what will please Swami. He will memorize everything. He will come on the stage and sit behind the chair of Swami. Swami comes from darshan from his Purnachandra or Yajurdham, slowly walking gracefully. This boy is sitting with the flower in his hand. Swami comes, looks at him. Swami sits on the chair. Some guest speaker introduces the warden or the vice chancellor or the registrar would introduce this boy to the audience. The boy gets up. He comes to Swami, does Pad Namaskar, gives flower to Swami and whispers in his ears about the topic which he is going to speak upon and seek his blessings. Swami gives blessings. The boy gets up, comes to the podium, to the mic is adjusted, Now the audience is expecting this boy to start speaking, isn't it? Swami has selected the boy, he has selected and approved of the topic. He has taken Swami's blessings, Pad Namaskar, given flower, whispered to Swami what he's going to speak about, again seek his blessings. Mic is adjusted, he is standing there in front of the audience. But he will not look at the audience or utter a word. His eyes will be fixed on Swami. Only those who have observed it will know it. This boy will not open his mouth till Swami says this. He gives a nod. Even if 1 hour passes standing there, he would never have known. The question does not arise. He will not open his mouth. In fact, he will not be able to open his mouth. I believe. That is the situation. He has selected, he has commanded, he has prepared, he has done everything. Today he has prepared this child to such an extent for last 18 years that on human plane, I can very humbly say that with his grace and with his support and his presence besides me, one with God is always in majority. He has prepared this child, at least in my mind, that I can bring about governance of God this in country without even raising my little finger or without raising my voice. He has done it at his level. My contribution, big zero. Except that I have been receptive as a donkey instrument without any personal agenda, without any personal choice, likes or dislikes. Whatever he commands, whenever he commands, when he decides, he provides. And if he has not yet provided, it means that he has not yet decided. He can even reverse his decision. Who can stop him? But when he decides, he provides. He is assured infinite resources and eternal protection. When he directs, he protects. Absolute fearlessness. Because absolute selflessness ensures absolute fearlessness. जय बोलो भगवान श्री सत्य साई बाबा जी की जय।